You're listening to Shift, Human First Financial Guidance with Ross Marino.
Today, we are shifting the conversation with Tom Moore from Betterment. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Ross. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on the show today. I've seen Betterment for years, just growing and adding new services and really making an impact in the advisor community. Looking forward to diving deep today. But before we go into that, how about you give us a quick background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'll say at the top, I've never been a financial advisor. So Ross, you can in the crowd here can knock me for that. But I have spent my entire career working with advisors. Initially for several of the large asset management firms, Vanguard, SEI affiliated managers group, and more recently, of course, with Betterment. So I've been with Betterment now for just under 6 years. I kind of came in as one of the first kind of ground floor members of our advisor focused business that was focused on growing our client base. And for the last 2 years, I've been running both our RA custody as well as our advisor, we call it advisor retirement or record keeping businesses.
Excellent. Well, Betterment, I'm not sure I knew much about them 5 years ago, but all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere. And I know initially my exposure was to a robo-advisor. So how about we do a quick background? Tell us how Betterment got started and what's going on.
Well, Betterment started back in 2009. So we've been around for a little while now. But as you mentioned, really our beginnings were as a robo-advisor. So serving retail investors. And I think that's really where we built our DNA as a business that, strives to understand customer needs and solve problems for them using, innovative technology. And I think over the years, we've adapted that robo-advisor to add more, flexibility and personalization for clients and turning it into, what we call now more of a, digital wealth management offering. But, there was an inflection point back in 2014 where, we had the opportunity to work with some advisors, right, that wanted to utilize our retail technology. And we went ahead and kind of did that opportunistically at the time. And that was a decision for us that, we really wanted to serve customers, whether they were interested in doing it themselves or interested in working with a financial advisor. And now, in the last couple of years, we've seen such an opportunity emerge in the financial advisor landscape that we really have been leaning into that opportunity and building out, more tools and more value specifically focused on financial advisors. So that's kind of the evolution dating all the way back, 15 years now.
Anytime I hear robo-advisor, I can't help but smile, and also I can chuckle at myself because I remember my initial impressions, and then of course there was a lot of uproar about, oh, the robo-advisors are going to replace the advisor, and now we can look back at that and kind of laugh. It's like, no, they're actually not. The people that are going to use the robo-advisors, they weren't using an advisor to begin with for the most part. People want to work with people. And now, of course, we've seen that the robo-advisors is basically being used by advisors. So the advisors are learning how to leverage that kind of technology. So I'm curious to know that at least in the earlier years, when you started working with advisors, what was that initial response from them?
I think we see this kind of phenomenon that you just gave us an overview of with a lot of emerging technology. Like I draw a lot of similarities between like when the robo-advisor first emerged to what we're seeing now with AI, right? Like the initial reaction is, is this technology coming to replace us, coming to take our jobs? And like you said, like that was the overwhelming reaction in the advisor community back in early Betterment days, like 2010, 2011, whatever it was. And now, like to your point, it's come full circle where I think advisors have really figured out how to utilize these innovations and these tools to make them more efficient and to add value to their clients. And I think, just anecdotally, like I can think of, several clients in our book today, like several of our advisor partners today that were some of the most outspoken in the beginning against robo-advisors. So we've really kind of seen a cool evolution there. And it is kind of funny to think back about, how much has changed.
Yeah, it definitely has. And of course, with Betterment, you may have started as a solve for clients, but that's what we're trying to do as advisors anyway. So obviously gives you a lot of insight. How in this current version, how would you say that Betterment is built, for the advisors? What are you doing where you can say this is exactly what advisors are looking for, and here's how we designed it?
Yeah, and I think we talk a lot about our DNA here, and that it's kind of grounded in really spending time to understand the customer. And to your point, like at first that was the retail the end investor. But as I've said, we've really shifted our focus now to the advisor as the customer. And so we're trying to kind of leverage that DNA, the iterative process of understanding and solving problems for the customer with this segment, this financial advisor segment. So, in the time I've spent working with advisors, I think I've witnessed kind of a tension between growing efficiently and delivering a high quality client experience, right? And like you can define client experience as kind of one of those more ambiguous terms. I think you can define that as, customer service. I think you can define it as portfolio performance. I think you can define it as, a highly personalized financial plan. But, we know ultimately the objective of the financial advisor and really of any business is to grow. And we know that, since an advisor's value is in delivering a high quality client experience, that can sometimes pull on this idea of growing efficiently. So where I see us sitting is kind of right at the center of that tension between efficient growth and personalization. And I think we address that tension with a combination of technology and customer service. The first way that we do that is, by integrating multiple systems together to make our stack efficient for advisors to work with. The second is kind of to provide advisors with scalable, personalized tools, which we can get into. And then I think the third is providing, streamlined, paperless back office support, and then a high quality of human-led customer service. So again, we sort of sit at that tension. We want to solve the advisor's problem of being able to grow and scale, but do it without sacrificing their service and value to the end investor.
I imagine there's been a lot of iterations and upgrades along the way as you, not just because you started with consumer direct and went to advisors, but just because once you start using something, you get feedback. You get to see, here's what advisors like to use, here's what they want. Can you talk about some of the major changes you've made over the last, say, 3 to 5 years based on feedback and working with advisors?
Yeah, I mean, the overarching, directional term I'd use to describe our evolution is just flexibility. Flexibility. We want to make it so that we don't have to turn down, any particular advised client situation. So we talk about how our platform has evolved. Well, I think we've built a lot of advisor tools to better understand their book of business, to identify times where it makes sense to take action with their clients. And then I think we've added flexibility around our portfolios to give them more discretion to manage a portfolio that's personalized for their clients. I think we've added more choice, right? So cash management solutions, retirement solutions, so that advisors have a broader suite of tools to address every client situation. But again, it's going back, it's really this idea of increasing the flexibility of the platform without reducing the scalability.
Yeah, and it sounds very straightforward, but certainly not an easy thing to execute along the way. But that tension, I don't think it's ever going to go away. We're obviously a human first crowd. That's the Shift crowd. That's my practice as well. And human first means we want to spend time with our clients, understanding them. But in order to do that, I can't be spending a bunch of time and energy and money on all the other stuff that has to take place. So I know I've talked to some people that maybe don't want to worry as much about the back end. They're like, oh, I just, I don't want to deal as much with that. I just want to work with the clients. Well, that's not how the world works. You have to execute across the board, and it's a complex world in many different ways. I'd imagine there's certain features or there's some things you've introduced that the advisor said, this has actually helped me a ton. Could you maybe take one feature or something you've brought out recently that really was a home run with the advisors?
Yeah, we can nerd out a little bit about all the cool tools and features that Betterment has to offer. I kind of think about
let's
it.
nerd.
Yeah, let's nerd. Let's do it. I kind of think about it in categories. Like the first is helping them automate portfolio management, right? So we do everything from rebalancing to tax loss harvesting to asset location. And when I say we do this, I mean you flip a switch and this is running in the background. So it completely eliminates the time that advisors are spending doing the trading and analysis that are associated with processes like this. To continue to nerd, you talk about like what is a feature that we've launched that is really exciting lately. End of last year, we shipped what's called smart transitions, which is a tool that allows an advisor to bring in a client's full portfolio, including legacy positions with embedded gains. And again, to set a caps gain budget and flip a switch, and our automated tools will help smartly unwind those legacy positions over time into the advisor's investment portfolio with respect to that client's capital gains budget. So that's kind of a flavor on the portfolio management side of all the kind of gears that are turning in the background that are not only giving the advisor operational leverage, but are actually adding value to the end investor that the advisor can position. So we talk about, again, the tension between scaling growth efficiently and delivering a high quality experience. That's a perfect example of where we're not only helping reduce the amount of operational overhead for the advisor, but we're actually bolstering the value they're delivering at the end of the day.
Yeah, you just can't escape all the work on the back end. So it's great to sit and meet with people, but it is a complex business. That's why earning the CFP doesn't take 3 months.
Yeah,
It's
right.
and the textbooks are intense and the program's intense. So you have to have partners that can help you leverage that and take some of that complexity and make it simple and streamline it. So it's been neat to see Betterment grow over the years. It's great to see that you not just had a pedigree of helping consumers, but now you can help the advisors as well. And I know you've also expanded into the 401k world, and you've got a lot of activity there as well. So it's good to see everybody growing. What do you think the next few years? Anything new or anything coming up from Betterment that you think is going to be awesome?
Oh yeah, lots. Well, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but our focus is really in B2B. It's on our advisor customers and our small business customers. I think for a myriad of reasons that the industry has been talking about for a long time now, there's a ton of opportunity there, and so we are just trying to expand our capabilities so that we can capture as much of that opportunity as possible. And I think it's about flexibility, and it's about building features that add value. So whether that's in the custody space, whether it's in the retirement space, whether it's at the convergence, which we could spend another podcast talking about this, the convergence of retirement and custody. I think there's so many cool opportunities there. There's so many problems that advisors need to be solved by their custodial partners and their vendors. And so, I'm just excited to continue to work with our client base to figure out what's next.
It's going to be exciting. Good to see what you've done so far. Looking forward to the next few years. Tom Moore, thanks for being on the show today.
Appreciate it, Ross.
Thank you for listening to Shift with Ross Marino. Please visit humanfirst.live to learn more. This show is for general information purposes only and is not intended to provide recommendations or advice. Speak with a legal, tax, or financial advisor before making any decisions. Past performance references are historical and do not guarantee future results.